is Chris Atkins. The car that I have beside me is a 1967 Ferguson Super Sport. Designed in 1959, was finished in 1967. It was originally built by Ross Ferguson, and he built it in Markham. First came across this car by a friend of mine and said, oh, there's a car you should go take a look at. This lady selling it, and sure enough, it was a neighbor of his, and went by and took a look at it and fell in love with it at first sight. Ross Ferguson was working for Avro Aero, working on the airplane. He worked in the engine department, building tooling, from what I understand, for working on the engines. He was a teacher as well and taught machining and a lot of the principles there. So some of the unique features of this car, it's got a front engine with a rear transmission mounted on the rear. It has four-wheel disc brakes all the way around. And very unique feature is that it has inboard disc brakes on the front. So it has two CV shafts coming off the front wheels, going to a center pot that has almost like a differential with the inboard brakes. And this ends up relieving a lot of the weight off the wheels. This car has a 289 out of a Ford Fairlane, 1967. And it was a crate engine brought up from Michigan to be put in the car, and it's a high output 289. The car features hand-built fiberglass body, everything from design of the suspension to the frame, it was all hand-built. Transmission is a 3-speed transmission from a Ford vehicle, vintage Ford. The front windshield is actually a back window out of a Vauxhall, and they flipped it around backwards and put it to the front itself. Made the side windows and all that kind of flow with the front windshield as well. A lot of the lines are kind of built into the actual vehicle, into the headlights as well. The wheels on this vehicle are made out of magnesium, and they're hand forged and then machined to suit. They run a 15-inch tire. The center caps are almost like a knockoff style center cap that is used to hold the wheel in place. Very unique for the time, more of a race car type of a feature. The emblems on the vehicle are handmade as well. A pretty unique feature to the car, and it just shows that it's a Canadian built car with the maple leaf in the center of it, which is a pretty neat little feature. Ross Ferguson in 1969, he's taken it to a variety of shows, some in London, some in Toronto. He did really well. He cleaned up. He got a lot of first place for engineering, first place Ford powered vehicle, first place for overall hand-built vehicle. He got quite a few awards. And then last year, I took it to the Auto Fest, and we did really well there, placed really well. It was a hit there. A lot of questions, a lot of people asking questions about the car and who built it and where it's from and how many were made. And there was only one made of the vehicle, so it's basically like a prototype type of car. When I bought the car, I got some paperwork, some drawings, some machining drawings that just more or less doodles of what he was doing to designing the car. With that, from what I understand, it's built with aircraft polyester fiberglass. So the body is very thick. It's not a thin shell at all. It's got very good body lines and the gaps for the doors and the hood. A lot of time was spent to make sure that they were just absolutely perfect. The car is beautiful to drive. It's very easy, very smooth. It handles very well. You can go around a corner and it just hugs the corner and it drives like a modern car would drive, actually. Doesn't drive like an old heavy muscle car or anything like that. It's very nimble for what it is. I've grown up working on cars and fixing cars for a living, and enjoy it. I've got my own shop there in Bowmanville, and since I've owned the car there, I've basically had to put a set of spark plugs in it, done the oil change, more or less just maintenance on the car. It's been so far very reliable. I do have a few quirks that I do need to fix on it. Reverse gear is starting to get a little worn out. I got to do some paint work on it, some touch-up paint, and I like to clean up underneath the hood there a bit and get it a little more presentable. Still all original from when he had the car there, and he's passed away now, I believe, about 4 or 5 years now. And so the way it is the way it was when he had the car itself. It hasn't really been shown except for the one time in 1969. So it hasn't really been out in the public for people to really see. And I think that's probably my biggest goal, is just to kind of show the car and, kind of spread the word about this fella, Ross Ferguson, and the amazing genius that he was.